What is up, guys? Randomonium here. This is Cloud9 versus TSM Game 4 of the NA LCS Semifinals. If you haven't seen my videos on games 1 through 3, please check those out. I will be spoiling the result for Game 4, so if you don't know the result and you don't want to know the result, go watch that game and then come back and watch this video. What we're doing with this video series is we're breaking down the pick ban phase, champion select, looking at team compositions, win conditions, and how each team did their draft and where they could have improved. For those of you who don't know, I've been doing a lot of analysis when it comes to team compositions and win conditions, and I've been able to accurately predict the result of professional games about 70% of the time. And I think I can actually improve that number. I've got a tool that helps me identify which team is going to win. And I know a lot of people have been requesting that I release this tool. And unfortunately, it's not ready yet. It's currently an Excel sheet that's over 100 megabytes. So not exactly very sharing friendly. And I'm still improving upon it. I'm still tweaking it. Eventually, we will get it to a state where it's either in an app or a website that we can release to the public. But for right now, I'm going to keep it as an Excel sheet, and I'm going to keep it a little bit close to the chest since the analysis and the equations and the algorithms that I use have some pretty interesting implications for both professional play and potentially also for solo queue and also other pursuits such as gambling. So sorry to not give you guys a full disclosure on it, but I will share a little bit with you guys as this video series continues. So let's get right into Game 4 pick and ban phase. So the bans for Cloud9 are Lissandra, Akali, Irelia. Cloud9 has been banning out the Lissandra and Irelia consistently. And they also ban out the Irelia a lot. They didn't ban it in Game 3, and Bjergsen made them pay for it. So I perfectly understand these bans that Cloud9 is doing. All of these champions are really good at basically defying death and causing a lot of problems for teams. And they don't want Bjergsen or Broken Blade to get a hold of any of these champions. TSM, meanwhile, is banning out the Sylas, the Tarek, and the Tahm Kench. This is a little bit different than we've seen previously. The Sylas has been a very common red side ban. Tarek, obviously, to counter the Tarek-Sona duo that Cloud9 employed in Game 1. And then typically they were banning the Kindred, TSM was. So instead they go for the Tahm Kench. So it'll be interesting to see if Cloud9 goes towards the Kindred, since that is a very Cloud9-centric ban. So immediately Cloud9 locks in the Jarvan, which Jarvan could be flexed to top lane, but it's most likely Jarvan jungle. And as a response, TSM is going to lock in the Galio and the Rek'Sai. So far, this is actually, I think, a pretty good draft. So Jarvan, like we said, can go top lane or jungle. He's good in both attack compositions and catch compositions. For the Galio and the Rek'Sai, Galio is pretty well rounded, most likely going to be going to the support role. Rek'Sai is mainly focused on being a good catch champion, but also can be used in attack compositions as well. So right now, neither team is showing too much as far as their drafts are concerned, which is good. This is what we would expect from some of the best teams in NA. So as a response, Cloud9 drafts the Lucian Braum, which is an extremely strong lane bully combo. And it's very clear that it seems like the Cloud9 is looking for a lot of early aggression. Jarvan could be a very strong early game jungler. He has good level 2 ganks. Good ganks, all the way through the mid game. It's going to be very interesting to see if they go for the Warrior Jarvan or if they go for Cinderhulk Jarvan. It looks like Cloud9 is wanting to play more of an early game style centric of play, either an attack composition or a catch composition. So if we pull it over right now, we can see that pretty much the teams are even. It's about 50-50 shot that either team is going to win. And we'll see what happens with TSM's next couple picks. TSM decides to lock in the Ezreal. So let's take a look at this, and we can then evaluate this pick. So right now, both teams are showing attack composition. As soon as they lock in the Ezreal, like so, you can see that TSM's win rate plummets, or chances of winning plummet, because instead of having an attack composition, they now have a siege composition. And attack compositions are actually really good against siege compositions. So I think that this is actually a mistake on the part of TSM. Now Cloud9 are in the driver's seat. As long as Cloud9 continues to draft attack-centric champions, attack-centric champions, which would be strong engage, strong AoE, that type of stuff, I think that TSM is in a very bad position. But we'll see what happens with the rest of the draft. TSM winds up banning the Morgana, which don't think that's a great ban. Personally, Morgana is usually really good into catch and protect compositions, and TSM is already showing a siege composition, which siege compositions are good against catch and protect compositions. Cloud9 counters by banning out Kayle, which I guess is okay. I don't think that TSM would go towards the Kayle pick. The LeBlanc ban is also decent. LeBlanc is very good in catch compositions, but siege compositions are traditionally good against catch compositions. So I think probably the reason for them doing this is that Cloud9 is already showing a very heavy duty early game comp. LeBlanc, if she gets unlocked early, can really snowball games out of control. So I think that this LeBlanc ban is an attempt to prevent them from trying to snowball the game out of control to a point where the team composition doesn't really matter that much. It just matters who snowballs the hardest. The last ban from Cloud9 was the Jace. I think this is a good ban because it looks like TSM is going for more of a siege-centric style of play. So TSM hovers the Zoe, and they wind up locking it in. So at this point, if we bring over the tool again and we plug in Zoe, you can see that TSM is in a bad spot. They're heavily siege dependent. Meanwhile, TSM is very attack, and Cloud9 is very attack. And attack compositions are very good against siege compositions. There is the potential that TSM could transition to a catch composition, which would counter an attack composition, but that's pretty hard for them to do with only one pick remaining. So at this point, if I was Cloud9 in this draft, I would just be like, hey, we're in a great spot. Let's just keep drafting champions that are good in attack compositions and basically fight them 5v5. So we'll see what happens with the final two picks that Cloud9 goes for. So they wind up going for the Rise, which could be mid or it could be top. And then with their final pick, they wind up locking in Zed. So let's take a look at what these two picks do to their win chances, shall we say. So we're assuming that the Rise is going top lane. So that actually gives Cloud9 a better chance to win slightly, because now split push compositions are a bit more favored with the Rise. And then when we go to the Zed pick, boom, look at that. So Cloud9 actually wound up screwing themselves by going for the Zed pick and the Rise pick, because it made their attack composition transition into more of a catch composition, and siege compositions are traditionally good against catch compositions. So in my opinion, these two picks were a major mistake. They should have continued going along with attack composition focused champions. So who could they have gone for? Well, I think the two easiest picks they could have gone for potentially would have been Kennen and Orianna, or something similar like that. Anybody who's good with a Wombo style ultimate. So we'll see how the rest of the draft goes out, and then I'll show you what would have happened if Cloud9 had stayed with their attack centric composition. So TSM goes for the Cho'Gath, who is also still good in a siege composition because he acts as like a very beefy front line. So you can see that TSM 90% chance to win because they are very heavily a siege composition, while Cloud9 is very heavily a catch composition. If we instead go for the Kennen and the Orianna, let's see how quickly the win rates shift for both of these teams. So Kennen, not quite good enough yet, but you can see that the attack composition number rose quite a bit. So now they're primed to be an attack composition. And then if we go to the Orianna, now, boom, you can see that red side, which is TSM, goes from having a 84% chance to win to an 11% chance to win, because instead of Cloud9 having a catch composition, now Cloud9 has an attack composition. And attack compositions are traditionally very good against sieging compositions, as long as the attack composition is not indecisive in how they play. So I think this was a completely botched draft phase, particularly the second part of the draft phase by Cloud9, which is pretty rare for Reaper. He's usually amazing in pick ban phase, but I think that something happened and they went off the reservation with this one, and they really made some mistakes. And as we see, what winds up happening is, if I can actually find it, it's a pretty one-sided affair, with TSM going 16 kills to 5, 8 towers to 2, 10k gold lead. Winds up being pretty one-sided because Cloud9 kind of counterpicked themselves. They kind of put themselves into a really bad position. So yeah, this is very interesting, and it forces a game 5. So I will finish up with the game 5 video in the very near future. If you guys enjoy this series, I definitely appreciate all the comments you guys leave. All the likes help me get more exposure for my YouTube channel. So thank you guys for all of that. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is Randomonium signing off.